We got this. Guys, huddle up! We'll win this together. Hit the music.
Rejoice! You made it just in time for the miracle.
I'll use Drax!
I am putting you and your crew under arrest for
Actually, can I call you back?
What?
What's going on, everyone? The Great Talon here, and today we're going to talk about the Guardians of the Galaxy video game made by published by Square Enix and developed by Crystal Dynamics. A game in its own right that is way better than it should be. That is the main theme and focal point of this whole review. Is still hot take. Yeah, so the Guardians of the Galaxy video game is very, very good. Surprisingly good. When I first saw the trailer back at, I think, E3, whatever it was, 2020, whatever, I was just like, no. Like, I was just like, or 21 or whatever it was. I was like, yeah, it's made by the same company who published the Avengers video game, they can go fuck themselves and off themselves on Tuesday because, yeah, no, that game was terrible, folks. The Avengers had broken my heart in more ways than one because when I must have watched that gameplay demo of the Avengers like 10 times, I was so excited for that game. And then when it came out to just be a cheap cash grab live service nonsense bullshit game with a fucking tacked on story that didn't even make any sense, that was over within 5 hours, I was like, yeah, I am done with this company, Square Enix as a whole, trying to make these IPs. But saw this, I said, you know what, the soundtrack, and if a game has a good soundtrack, first and foremost, you're gonna draw me in. And this is like a heavy metal classic rock soundtrack, and that's what I'm about. It's my forte. So I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot, whatever. So on a whim, against my better judgment, I pre-ordered the game. I got it fall of 2021. Finally got around to it now in June, 8 months later, and to my delight, yeah, I heard my friend played it before I did. He said it was really good. Watched him play it a little bit. Was like, okay, I can get into this. It basically is a culmination of what the Avengers game should have been, with a beefy story. They tried really hard with the story. I give them an E for effort. Didn't hit on all fire and all cylinders of the story, but it had some touching moments, and it was funny. It was very humorous. It was just very, Guardians of the Galaxy, they have a very heavy sense of humor to them. And that's what kind of is the kind of draw, and it's very present here. The action, it's a squad-based combat, but it's not in a sense of where you switch the characters. You play as Star-Lord the entire game from start to finish. You can control other characters in his ensemble. Everyone from Gamora to Drax to Rocket Raccoon to Groot by pressing the left bumper. If you're playing on Xbox, which I did, hold the left bumper, and you will then be able to dictate and delegate what type of special attacks or move sets they can do. You start off with one special move for each character. Can unlock up to 4. Actually, 3, and then there's a special one that unlocks by progression of the story. And it's like a super mega move. Star-Lord 2 has some pretty cool attacks, from like rocket boots to flying in the air like Iron Man, to just like doing an AoE attack, an area of effect attack. He has like also elemental weapons such as ice, fire, electricity, and there's a green like grapple, which pulls enemies like Scorpion, like from Mortal Kombat. Like, get over here, and he pulls the enemies from higher ledges up and brings them down. And there's also a momentum buttons to press when you build up your special meter and you build them up enough momentum. You can press the 2 triggers, and then you go into what is called a huddle mode. And what that is you gather your team in a huddle, a brief huddle. You got to give them a little pep talk. So they're gonna be like, yeah, like kind of like a football game. Yeah, Chief, we're getting our butts kicked out there. Like, what are we supposed to do? And you're like the coach, going, all right, this is what we're gonna do. And depending upon your answer and your response, it dictates how the battle will go. either you're going to get a longer special meter, which is like you're pretty much your specials rebuild like instantaneously because they're on a cooldown, and normally they take a few seconds to replenish from the cooldown. But if you're in a huddle mode and you get to like the special ability where you go into like the special Guardians super attack, they replenish very quickly. And and that's pretty cool. If you give the right answer, you get a longer meter. You have the wrong answer, they just fucking say you're stupid, you're dumb, and like they're not listening to you. And then you still get the meter, but it goes down. It depletes relatively quickly. From what I've noticed. And it's really fun when you go into that huddle mode and you press the bumpers or whatever, and you go and you send your team on your way. You give them a little pep talk. You rile them up. Then that's when the music starts playing. The kick-ass soundtrack. They got like Motley Crue. They got Rick Astley. They got a whole slew of fucking Billy Idol. There's so many pop songs and rock songs. Even they've got Iron Maiden. Where Eagles Dare. Well, fucking one of the greatest Iron Maiden albums ever. Fucking Peace of Mind. They got one of the songs from Iron Maiden on there. So I'm like super excited about this soundtrack. So anytime that huddle option comes up, I'm just pressing it immediately because I want to hear these tunes. It's really cool. And the tunes play for the duration of the fight. No matter, even if your special meter depletes all the way, the music will still play until the end of that battle. At the end of each battle, you get like a little slow motion, like Batman Arkham Asylum like little thing where boom, and then it'll do like slow down and whatever. And that's what also I want to bring up too. The combat is somewhat reminiscent to I want to say Batman, a cross between Batman and Spider-Man games, because like you'll get a lot of QTE quick time events where you got to press a series of buttons to like do special moves or finishers and whatever. And I think it's pretty cool. It doesn't emphasize that to a point of like tedium, but it's actually just does it just enough where you can feel like empowered, which is really good. And also there's a bunch of different combination attacks you can do, like automation attacks, combination attacks with each Guardians member. That's pretty unique, and it's really cool to watch undergo and take out. And it's really fucking awesome. With that being said, though, there's also a series of upgrades. Now, this is one of my complaints about the game. There's a handful of upgrades and different abilities like you can unlock per character. The upgrades are only for Quill, but the abilities you can unlock 4 per character, like I said before, with ability points. To unlock their special moves, you get 4 per character. You can unlock 3 of them by using ability points, and you get ability points at the end of every fight encounter. You get like a meter will build up, and upgrades. Yeah, you get a slew of upgrades for Peter Quill, for Star-Lord, from like more health, more armor, more charge attacks, different like abilities. For his like weapons, you can get like more melee attacks. You can melee in this game. You get a higher melee attack. You get a dodge moves, cooldowns faster, all that other good shit. But my complaint is in the fact that they are over relatively quickly. Like, in other words, I was only like probably about 2/3 of the game. I finished 2/3 of the game, and I gotten everything I can get. I unlocked everything I could. So anything that any components or upgrade materials I found from after the 2/3 point of the game was rendered moot because I didn't even look for them, because I'm like, what the fuck am I going to use to upgrade? Like the game's pretty much still going on, and the game is supposed to be encouraging me to get stronger, but I've reached my maximum strength level, and it's like, all right, so I'll just bum rush the story till the end. Don't even explore anymore. The only thing I was looking for at the end of the game was like outfits. You could find like these little canisters with like outfits that you didn't have to pay for. You didn't have to pay microtransactions for. They're just part of the game. Cosmetics, part of the game, folks. That's how it is. That's what I loved about this game the most, though. It just felt like a video game. Like it just felt like a fucking video game. You didn't want me to pay within. You didn't want to buy the base game and then keep paying to unlock things within the game, like kind of like Avengers wanted you to do. This is just everything was here, like kind of like the Spider-Man and Batman games and whatever. Like everything is just here. It's within the game. Even Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, everything was in the game. You didn't have to pay for anything extra. And guess what? Sold fucking millions of copies, and it showed that if you make just a fucking video game, folks, you're gonna do good. You're gonna get the fans, and you're not gonna piss them off as much. So yeah. But anyway, yeah. So the game is actually too. The length of the game I want to talk about too. The length is pretty long. It's actually. I like games that give me a bang for my buck, but I felt like this game, like I said, with the upgrades, that you ran out of upgrades really fast, and it wasn't really drive to like really explore other than finding like skins and outfits. I felt like this game overstayed its welcome, probably about 5 or 6 hours too long. I think if it was shaved down a little bit, I think it would have been a little bit better, because even though the story was mildly entertaining, it felt like it dragged on a little bit too much toward the latter half of the game. That's another one of my complaints. But other than that, it's a fun game. I mean, I kept going back to it. I was like, oh, you know your game is good or relatively good when you kind of say, when you're not playing it, oh, gee, I want to play that. I can't wait to go back to play it. That's how you know a game is good. But yeah, no. You get all the Guardians tropes, in this game. You get the banter, you get the solid voice acting. The soundtrack is amazing. And they go to different planets, locales, and there's a series of boss fights, unique boss fights that I liked. I liked how they tackled some of these boss fights. Few and far between, not too many boss fights, but there was maybe a handful, like three to five boss fights, I would say, in the game, over the game's 16 or 17 chapters. And yeah, I thoroughly pretty much enjoyed this game for the most part. So that being said, if I had to score Guardians of the Galaxy from a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think it's a great game. Few shortcomings, like you run out of ability and upgrades relatively to it. The ratio is not there. If you were going to upgrade, you should upgrade till at least the last 1 or 2 chapters of the game, and then it should just segue into the end game. Here, I ran out of upgrades and abilities, I would say chapter 10 or 11 maybe, and I had 5 or 6 chapters left where I was just like, oh well, what now, what, just play beat the game. And the length of the game might be too long and cumbersome for some. It was about a 19-20 hour game, and that is lengthy for an IP, like a licensed game. That's pretty lengthy. I thought it was if you're into that long longevity game, you want to get your bang for your buck, that's great, but just don't expect too much depth here in terms of gameplay depth. The story depth, yeah, is there, but the gameplay, it's mild exploration. At point A to point B, everything is kind of linear, more linear for the most part. And so yeah, so that's pretty much it. My next game is going to be the big one. I've been putting this off for a while. Probably won't see me for a while because I'm going to put my heart and soul into Elden Ring, and that is the anti-Guardians of the Galaxy. And what I mean by that is massive open world video game, and the first in its class, and from software games, because they're always about doing a open map but not an open world. So I'm very excited. I'm going to go fuck with my builds now. I'm going to see what build I want to fuck with. I want to be a strength build, mage, or a little bit of both. So anyway, sorry, I'm not going to get too much into that, but hopefully before Christmas, I will give you my review of Elden Ring if I don't break my consoles and controllers before then, because it's a FromSoft game, folks, and you know what that means. It's hard as fuck. So yeah. And then with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you liked the video, why not like and why not subscribe? That's it for today. Thanks as always for stopping by, and I will catch everybody next time.